Hello, this is Lee with Eagle Love English. Today, I will be discussing pairs of words that are commonly confused. These words are mostly homophones, which are two words that sound the same but have different meanings. Sometimes, though, they're just similar and not quite the same. To tell these words apart when you hear them used in conversation, you will need to rely on context. Let's get started examining the differences in these words and the various contexts in which they are used. First is allusion and illusion. These are two nouns with nearly the same pronunciation. Only the vowel at the beginning is different, and in certain dialects they might sound the same. An allusion is an indirect reference, to talk about something without mentioning its name. For example, if I said, "Someone knocked the coffee cup off the table and I had to clean up all the coffee," I would be making an allusion to my cat. An illusion is something that appears different from what it really is. For example, a metal gem with a mirror finish might create the illusion of a diamond. This word is also frequently used in fantasy writing to describe magic that creates something that is not really there. The second is forth and forth. The first, forth with no U, is an adverb that means to go onward or outward. For example, the phrase back and forth means to swing from side to side or make a similar motion. A command to go forth would mean your commander wishes you to proceed. Forth, with a U after the O, is a noun, adjective, and adverb that all relate to the number 4. For example, if somebody has 3 older brothers, then they would be the 4th son in a family. Third is addition and edition. Addition is a noun that refers to the mathematical process of taking the sum of two numbers, and also anything that figuratively references this process. For example, if I bought a new hat, then it would be an addition to my hat collection. Edition is a noun that means version. It references a specific release of a product or creative work. Take a note of that root word, edit. Each time a work is edited and re-released, it creates a new edition. The fourth is affect and effect. These two words can be very tricky to tell apart because they have similar applications. Both of them are used in reference to something being caused to change. Generally, the easiest way to remember the difference between these words is that affect with an A is something that a person does, and affect with an E is something that has been done. Affect with an A is usually a verb. For example, if it starts raining during a baseball game, the outcome of the game will likely be affected by the rain. Affect also has an alternate definition, which means to put on the appearance of something that you are not. For example, if I started using a fake British accent, that would be me putting on an affect, which in that particular application would be a noun. Affect with an E is usually a noun. For example, if the rain ends up canceling the baseball game, then an effect of the weather is the game's cancellation. The difference usually lies in that the first is something that is actively done, whereas the second is something that has already happened. Number 5 is device and devise. Device is a noun, which in English can refer to any number of pieces of individual user technology. It is sometimes used as a stand-in word for phone, tablet, or computer. For example, if somebody is giving general instructions on how to visit a website, they may say, "Open the internet browser on your device." Devise is a verb that means to create a complicated plan. For example, if a group of criminals wanted to rob a bank, they would need to devise a strategy in order to not be caught by the police. Number 6 is allude and elude. Allude with an A is the verb form of allusion, to speak about something in an indirect way. Elude is a verb which means to escape by cleverness or quickness. For example, I may allude to the previously mentioned bank robbers if I just said their brilliant strategy allowed them to elude the police. Number 7 is hoard and hoard. Hoard, spelled H-O-A-R-D, is a verb and noun which means a large gathering of objects. For example, if a person is very rich, then they could be claimed to have a hoard of money. Or a person who compulsively keeps junk items may be referred to as a hoarder. Hoard, spelled H-O-R-D-E, is a noun which refers to a large group of people or living things. For example, an invading group of soldiers may be referred to as a horde. Number 8 is eminent and imminent. Eminent is an adjective which means of high esteem or importance. For example, an eminent musician would be a person whose music has become famous and very influential. Imminent is an adjective which means coming immediately. If you are expecting a package to arrive any second, then your delivery is imminent. Number 9 is pray and pray. Pray, spelled P-R-A-Y, is a verb which means to plead to or give thanks to a higher power. For example, most Christians go to church on Sundays to pray. Pray, spelled P-R-E-Y, is a noun which means vulnerable to being hunted or harmed. Literally, it means an animal at the bottom of the food chain, like a rabbit, but it can also be used metaphorically to refer to a person that is very vulnerable to being harmed by others. And finally, number 10 is stationary and stationary. These are two nearly identical words, and the only difference is the A or E at the very end. Stationary with an A is an adjective that means not moving. If my car is parked and not turned on, then my car is stationary. Stationary with an E is a noun that means material for writing or typing. If you needed to buy some things to write a thank you note, then you would be buying some stationery. I hope I could help you out with some of these more confusing vocabulary words. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please also subscribe for more English learning videos. This has been Lee with EAGO Love English. Have a wonderful day!